The secret between us. The pregnancy test in Maya Collins' trembling hand showed 2 pink lines, but that wasn't what made her heart stop cold. It was the name on the office door directly in front of her, Alexander Sterling, CEO. The man who had hired her as his personal assistant 6 weeks ago. The man whose bed she had secretly shared for the past month. The man who had absolutely no idea that the baby growing inside her belonged to his supposedly dead brother, the same brother she had been investigating since the day she walked through Sterling Enterprises' glass doors. Maya's knees buckled against the marble bathroom wall as footsteps approached. She had exactly 30 seconds to compose herself before her entire carefully constructed life would implode. Everything she had worked for, the 3 years of undercover investigation, the justice she owed her murdered sister, the truth about the Sterling family's darkest secret, all of it balanced on a razor's edge. If Alexander discovered who she really was before she found the evidence she needed, she would lose not just her mission, but possibly her life. The Sterlings had killed before to protect their empire, and she had the scars to prove it. Maya. Alexander's deep voice echoed through the executive bathroom door, sending electricity and terror through her veins simultaneously. The board meeting starts in 5 minutes. Are you all right in there? She stuffed the test into her bag with shaking hands. Coming, she managed, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting inside her. She had fallen in love with the wrong brother, and now she carried the evidence of a dead man's final secret. 6 weeks earlier, Maya had stood outside Sterling Enterprises with nothing but a fabricated resume and a burning need for vengeance. Her real name was Maya Richardson, and 3 years ago, her younger sister Emily had died under mysterious circumstances while working at this very company. The official report claimed suicide, but Maya knew better. Emily's final voicemail had been frantic, terrified. I found something, Maya. Something about the Sterling brothers. They're going to, the message had cut off. Emily was found dead 12 hours later. The elevator doors opened to reveal the most breathtakingly beautiful office she had ever seen, and the most infuriatingly handsome man she had ever encountered. Alexander Sterling stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his silhouette carved against the Manhattan skyline like a Greek statue come to life. Broad shoulders tapered to a narrow waist, and when he turned, piercing blue eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her forget, for just a moment, why she had come. You must be my new assistant, he said, his voice a smooth baritone that seemed designed to unravel women's defenses. The agency said you were impressive. They failed to mention you were also going to make my female board members jealous and my male executives useless. Maya's cheeks flushed despite herself. I wasn't aware my appearance was relevant to scheduling your meetings, Mr. Sterling. His lips curved into a devastating smile. It's not. I'm just exceptionally good at making terrible first impressions. Consider it a talent. He extended his hand, and when her fingers touched his, something electric passed between them, something that felt dangerously like destiny. I should warn you, Alexander continued, not releasing her hand, I'm impossible to work for. I have the emotional availability of a cactus, the sleeping schedule of a vampire, and I've been told I use humor as a defense mechanism against genuine human connection. My last 3 assistants quit within 2 weeks. One actually threw a stapler at my head. Did you deserve it? His eyes sparkled with genuine surprise and appreciation. Absolutely. But I also tripled her severance, so I like to think we parted on good terms. He finally released her hand, and Maya felt the absence like a physical loss. You're different. I can tell already. Either you're going to last, or you're going to destroy me. I haven't decided which would be more interesting. If he only knew how right he was. The first week was a masterclass in restraint. Maya spent every waking moment cataloging Alexander's habits, his relationships, his weaknesses, and trying desperately to ignore the way her pulse accelerated every time he walked into a room. She needed access to the archived files from 3 years ago, specifically anything related to Project Meridian, the mysterious initiative Emily had mentioned in her final weeks. But Alexander kept those files locked in his private server, and Maya hadn't yet found a way in. What she found instead was unexpected. Alexander Sterling was genuinely good. He stayed late to personally call employees going through family emergencies. He quietly paid for his driver's daughter's college tuition without telling anyone. He remembered the names of every janitor, every security guard, every person that most executives considered invisible. The monster Maya had expected to find was nowhere in evidence. It was his brother, Dominic Sterling, who had been the darkness in the family. Dominic had died in a car accident 18 months ago, conveniently, just as Maya's investigation was getting close to connecting him to a string of suspicious deaths within the company, including Emily's. With Dominic dead, the trail had gone cold. But Maya knew the evidence still existed somewhere in this building. "You're staring at me," Alexander said one evening, catching her lost in thought. They were alone in his office, the city glittering 40 stories below. "Should I be flattered or concerned?" Maya startled, nearly spilling her coffee. "Neither. I was staring through you. There's a difference." "Ah, yes." The lost in existential contemplation stare versus the "my boss is devastatingly attractive and I'm only human" stare. Subtle distinction. He loosened his tie, and Maya absolutely did not notice the way the column of his throat moved when he swallowed. "Has anyone ever told you that your ego could be classified as a natural wonder?" "Frequently. I'm hoping to get it UNESCO heritage status by next year." He moved closer, and Maya's breath caught. "Can I tell you a secret, Maya Collins?" Her heart hammered. Did he know? Had he discovered her real identity? "That depends on the secret. I hired you because something in your interview told me you were hiding something." His eyes searched hers, and for a terrifying moment, Maya was certain he could see straight through to her soul. But instead of feeling threatened, I felt curious. For the first time in years, I actually felt something. "You make me want to know what's behind those beautiful walls you've built." Maya should have stepped back. Should have maintained professional distance. Instead, she found herself leaning closer. "Maybe some walls exist for good reasons." "Maybe," he agreed, his breath warm on her lips. "But I've never been good at leaving mysteries unsolved." The tension between them was a living thing, crackling with electricity and danger. Maya knew she should run. Instead, when Alexander's mouth finally claimed hers, she kissed him back like her life depended on it. If you're already hooked on Maya and Alexander's story, drop a like right now. And for those who need to know what happens next with the pregnancy test and the dark secret she's hiding, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single twist, ***. What followed was a month of beautiful deception. By day, Maya was the perfect assistant, efficient, professional, invaluable. By night, she explored every inch of Alexander's body and soul, learning the men behind the empire. He told her about his childhood, about the father who valued success over affection, about the mother who died when he was 12. He told her about carrying the weight of a company that employed thousands, about the loneliness that came with a last name everyone wanted something from. What he didn't tell her about was his brother. Whenever Dominic's name came up, Alexander's entire demeanor shifted. Walls slammed down behind his eyes, and the warm, witty man she was falling for disappeared behind a mask of controlled indifference. "You never talk about him," Maya pressed one night, lying tangled in Alexander's sheets. "Dominic, I mean." Alexander's body tensed beside her. "There's nothing to talk about. He's dead. You were twins. That kind of bond doesn't just. We weren't bonded." His voice was ice. "We were adversaries who happened to share DNA. Everything good in me, every decent impulse I possess, was what Dominic lacked. He was brilliant and charming and absolutely hollow inside. He hurt people, Maya. He enjoyed it." Alexander finally met her eyes, and she saw something that looked terrifyingly like guilt. "And I let him. For years, I looked the other way because confronting him meant confronting what our family really was. When he died, I felt relief. What does that say about me?" Maya's hand found his chest, feeling his heart pound beneath her palm. "It says you're human." But inside, her mind raced. Alexander knew. He knew Dominic was dangerous. He knew Dominic had hurt people. The question was, did he know about Emily? The answers came 2 weeks later, and they changed everything. Maya had finally cracked Alexander's private server, discovering the archive Project Meridian files hidden in an encrypted folder. She waited until he left for an overseas meeting, then locked herself in his office, her heart threatening to burst from her chest as she scrolled through document after document. What she found was worse than anything she had imagined. Project Meridian wasn't just unethical corporate espionage, it was a systematic cover-up of Dominic Sterling's crimes. Harassment. Assault. And 3 deaths, all women who had threatened to expose him, all ruled accidents or suicides by coroners who had received substantial donations from Sterling Enterprises. Emily Richardson's name appeared on the final page, her death marked with a single cold notation, resolved. Maya's hands shook as tears blurred her vision. 3 years of grief, of doubt, of people telling her to move on, and here was the proof. Her sister had been murdered. And somewhere in this building, the evidence to prove it in court still existed. But the file revealed something else, something that made Maya's blood turn to ice. There was a notation from 18 months ago, just days before Dominic's car accident, DS becoming liability. AS briefed on contingency. AS Alexander Sterling. Had Alexander known about the murders all along? Had he been complicit? Or worse, had he been the one to authorize his own brother's death? The door handle turned. Maya barely had time to close the files before Alexander walked through the door, 3 days early from his trip, his expression thunderous. "My security team flagged unauthorized access to the private server," he said, his voice deadly calm. "Want to explain why my new assistant is reading files that are classified at the board level?" He moved closer, and for the first time, Maya saw the ruthless businessman behind the charming exterior. "Who are you really, Maya? And don't even think about lying to me. I'll know. This is the moment everything changes, and trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, share it with someone who loves these kinds of emotional roller coasters." Maya's mind raced through her options. Lie and hope he believed her. Confess everything and risk losing both her evidence and her life. The pregnancy test felt like a burning secret against her hip, adding impossible weight to an already crushing moment. "My name is Maya Richardson," she said finally, watching his face for recognition. "Emily Richardson was my sister. The woman your brother murdered 3 years ago." Alexander's expression flickered, surprise, then confusion, then something that looked heartbreakingly like comprehension. "Emily," he repeated softly. "The analyst who was ruled a suicide. Who left me a voicemail saying she'd found something about the Sterling brothers just hours before she died. Who I have spent 3 years trying to get justice for." Maya's voice cracked. "I came here to destroy you, Alexander. I came here to find the evidence that would send your entire family to prison. Instead, you what?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "Instead, I fell in love with you." The words escaped before she could stop them, and they hung in the air like a confession and a condemnation all at once. "And now I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if you're the hero I've been falling for or the villain I came here to expose. I don't know if you knew about Dominic's crimes and covered them up, or if you were another victim of his manipulation. All I know is that my sister is dead, I need answers, and I'm pregnant with your brother's child." Alexander staggered back as if she had physically struck him. "What? 2 months ago? Your trip to Tokyo, when you sent Dominic in your place for the Singapore meeting." Maya laughed bitterly. "He was charming. Just like you. Except he wasn't. Not underneath. I didn't know he was your brother until after. I thought he was just a handsome stranger at a hotel bar. It was one night, one terrible mistake, and now I'm carrying the baby of a man who killed my sister." The silence stretched between them, vast and terrible. When Alexander finally spoke, his voice was raw. "Dominic never went to Singapore. He died 2 days before that meeting." Maya's world tilted. "What? He faked his death, Maya. We all knew, my father, our chief of security, me. Dominic was about to be exposed, about to bring down the entire company with his crimes. So we staged the accident and helped him disappear." Alexander's hands trembled as he ran them through his hair. "I thought we were protecting the company. Protecting the employees. I told myself it was the lesser evil. But I never knew about the murders. I swear to you, I never knew about your sister. I just thought he was troubled. Reckless. I never imagined. He's alive. Maya's voice emerged as a whisper. The man who killed my sister, the father of my child, he's been alive this whole time. Before Alexander could answer, his phone rang with a distinctive tone. His face went pale as he looked at the screen. Speaking of the devil, he said grimly. It's him. It's Dominic. And he's calling from inside the building. The next hours unfolded like a nightmare from which Maya couldn't wake. Dominic Sterling emerged from the private elevator like a ghost made flesh, and the resemblance to Alexander was both striking and disturbing. Where Alexander's features held warmth and life, Dominic's were cold, calculating. The same blue eyes that made Maya feel safe in Alexander's face made her feel hunted in his brother's. Hello, brother, Dominic said smoothly. And Maya Richardson. Yes, I know exactly who you are. Did you really think I wouldn't keep tabs on my own company? On my own child? His smile was a predator's grin. I've been watching you for weeks. Watching you search for evidence, watching you fall into my brother's bed while carrying my heir. Quite the soap opera you've created. Why are you here, Dominic? Alexander stepped between them, his body a shield. Maya had never loved him more than in that moment. Because it's time to come home, obviously. Dad's dying, accelerated cognitive decline, the lawyers tell me. He'll be declared incompetent within the month. Which means the company needs its true heir. Dominic's eyes glittered with malice. Not the soft-hearted golden boy who's been running it into the ground with his ethical nonsense. The real Sterling. The one who understands that business is war, and in war, casualties are inevitable. You're a murderer, Maya spat. You killed my sister. You killed others. There are files. Files that will never see a courtroom, Dominic interrupted. Not if you want to stay alive. Not if you want that baby to ever take its first breath. He moved closer, and Alexander tensed. Here's how this is going to work. Alexander is going to step down as CEO. Maya is going to hand over every shred of evidence she's collected. And then you're both going to disappear, comfortably, I'm not a monster, while I restore this company to its proper glory. And if we refuse? Alexander asked. Dominic's smile widened. Then I'll be forced to tell the authorities about how my grieving brother, overwhelmed by guilt over covering up my death, murdered his pregnant assistant and then took his own life. Very tragic. Very believable. He produced a small device from his pocket. The building's security system is currently experiencing a convenient malfunction. There are no witnesses to anything that happens in this office for the next hour. So what's it going to be? Maya's hand instinctively went to her stomach, protecting the life growing inside her, a life created by this monster, but innocent nonetheless. She looked at Alexander, saw the same desperate calculation in his eyes, and made a decision. The evidence isn't in the building, she said quickly. I'm not stupid. I stored everything off-site with Dead Man's Switch. Anything happens to me, it goes straight to the FBI, the media, everyone. Kill me, and you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Dominic's face. You're bluffing. Am I? You've been watching me for weeks, you said. Did you see me make copies? Did you see where I went after hours? Maya's voice was steady even as her heart raced. Your mistake, Dominic, was assuming I was just a grieving sister looking for closure. I'm not. I'm a former criminal investigator. I was recruited by the FBI specifically for this operation. Emily wasn't just my sister, she was my asset. And this has been a federal investigation from the start. It was a desperate gamble. Most of it was lies. But Dominic didn't need to know that. She's telling the truth, Alexander said, catching on immediately. His hand found Maya's, squeezing reassurance. I suspected from the beginning. Why do you think I hired her? I wanted Dominic's crimes exposed. I wanted justice for the people he hurt. I've been helping her build the case, brother. Every file she accessed was because I gave her the passwords. The brothers stared at each other, and Maya watched as decades of rivalry, resentment, and rage passed between them without a single word. Then Dominic laughed. "Well played," he said, and for a horrible moment, Maya thought he had seen through their bluff. "Both of you. But here's the thing about federal investigations, they take time. Trials take even longer. And accidents." He moved toward the door, his hand hovering over the light switch. "Accidents happen very, very quickly." The lights went out. What happens next will shock you to your core. If your heart is racing right now, imagine what's coming in the final act. Stay with us, the ending is something you'll never see coming, ***. What followed was the longest 3 minutes of Maya's life. In the darkness, she heard scuffling, grunts of pain, the sickening sound of fists meeting flesh. She pressed herself against the wall, one hand protecting her stomach, the other desperately searching for anything she could use as a weapon. Then Alexander's voice, "Maya, run. Now. Get to security, get out of the building. I'm not leaving you. This isn't a request." His voice was strained, pained. "For once in your life, stop being stubborn and go." A crash. The sound of breaking glass. Maya ran. She made it to the stairwell before Dominic caught up with her, his hand closing around her wrist with bruising force. In the dim emergency lighting, she could see blood on his face, Alexander's handiwork. "You're not going anywhere," Dominic hissed. "You and that baby are my insurance policy. Let her go." Alexander's voice echoed from behind them, and Maya turned to see him emerge from the darkness, one arm hanging awkwardly but his eyes burning with fury. "This is between us, Dominic. It always has been. Let her go, and we settle this. Just the two of us. Like it should have been years ago." Touching. The golden boy finally grows a spine. But Dominic's grip on Maya loosened slightly as his attention shifted to his brother. "Fine. You want to settle this? Let's settle this." He threw Maya aside, and she stumbled against the stairwell railing, her ankle twisting painfully. But she was free. The brothers faced each other on the landing, two sides of the same coin, and Maya understood that this moment had been building for 35 years. Every competition, every comparison, every moment when their father praised one over the other, it all culminated here. "You always got everything," Dominic said, circling slowly. "The love, the trust, the company. I had to fight for every scrap, and even then, you were the favorite. The good son. The one who could do no wrong. I would have shared it with you," Alexander replied, matching his movements. "Any of it. All of it. But you didn't want to share. You wanted to take. You wanted to hurt. That's who you are, Dominic. It's who you've always been. You don't know anything about who I am. I know you killed innocent women. I know you killed Maya's sister." Alexander's voice cracked. "And I know that I should have stopped you years ago. That guilt will live with me forever. But this ends now." Dominic lunged. What happened next was too fast for Maya to fully process. Bodies colliding, the screech of metal, a desperate cry. And then silence. When she managed to pull herself up, she saw Alexander standing at the top of the stairs, breathing heavily, alone. 40 floors below, at the bottom of the stairwell, lay Dominic Sterling. He wasn't moving. The aftermath was a blur of police, paramedics, and statements. Dominic survived the fall, barely, and was taken into federal custody on multiple charges that would ensure he never saw freedom again. Maya's bluff about the FBI had been more truth than she'd realized. Her former colleagues had been monitoring her investigation for months, building their own case, waiting for the right moment to move. Alexander stood beside her through all of it, his broken arm in a sling, his eyes never leaving her face. When the last detective finally left, they found themselves alone in his office, the Manhattan skyline blazing with dawn. "I should hate you," Alexander said quietly. "You lied to me. You used me. You came here to destroy my family. I know. But I don't hate you." He moved closer, his good hand finding her cheek. "I think I was waiting for someone to finally tell me the truth. Even if the truth was terrible. Even if it meant losing everything I thought I knew." "What happens now?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Alexander's thumb traced her cheekbone, his touch achingly gentle. Now. Now I spend the next several months testifying against my own brother, salvaging what I can of a company built on secrets and lies, and trying to figure out who I am without the sterling name defining me. That sounds lonely. It would be. He paused, and she saw vulnerability in his eyes that he'd never shown before. Unless someone decided to stay. Someone brave enough to challenge me, stubborn enough to fight with me, beautiful enough to make every board meeting more interesting, and carrying a baby that, regardless of its biological father, deserves better than the legacy it was born into. Maya's heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying that I know this is complicated. I know the child isn't mine. I know that our beginning was based on lies and pain. But I also know that somewhere in the middle of all that darkness, I found something real. I found you. He took her hand, pressing it against his chest where his heart beat strong and steady. Stay. Not because of the company, not because of the investigation, not because of obligation. Stay because you want to. Stay because maybe, just maybe, you feel what I feel. That we could be something extraordinary together. Alexander. I'm not asking you to forgive everything overnight. I'm not asking you to pretend the past didn't happen. I'm asking you to give us a chance to build something new. Something honest. Something beautiful. Maya thought about Emily, about the 3 years of grief and rage that had consumed her. But she also thought about how Emily had always believed in love, in second chances, in the possibility that people could change. Emily would have wanted this for her. One condition, Maya said. Name it. We start over. Completely. No more secrets, no more lies, no more walls. If we're going to do this, we do it right. Alexander's smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. Hello, he said, extending his hand formally. I'm Alexander Sterling. Former CEO, current mess, and I would very much like to take you to dinner and learn everything about who you really are. Maya laughed, a real laugh, the first genuine one she'd experienced in years. Hello, she replied, taking his hand. I'm Maya Richardson. Former FBI consultant, current pregnant emotional disaster, and I would very much like that dinner. He pulled her close, careful of her injured ankle, and when their lips met, it felt like the beginning of everything. 8 months later, Maya stood in the nursery of the home she and Alexander had built together, far from Manhattan, far from Sterling Enterprises, far from the shadows of the past. The company was under new leadership now, ethically restructured with Alexander serving only as an advisory board member. Dominic was serving multiple life sentences. And the Maya Richardson who had walked into Sterling Enterprises seeking vengeance had transformed into someone she barely recognized, someone who had found peace, love, and a new purpose. The baby in her arms had her eyes and Alexander's smile, biology be damned. He had been there for every doctor's appointment, every midnight craving, every moment of doubt. When their daughter was born, it was his name on the birth certificate, his voice that first welcomed her into the world. She's going to be trouble, Alexander said, appearing in the doorway. I can already tell. She has your stubbornness and my charm. The world isn't ready. The world will adapt, Maya replied, smiling as he wrapped his arms around both of them. That's what the world does. I was thinking about names again. We already named her. I know. Emily Grace Sterling. It's perfect. He pressed a kiss to Maya's temple. I was thinking about our names. Specifically, whether yours should change. Maya's heart stuttered. Alexander. I had a whole speech prepared. Something about how you walked into my life and completely disrupted everything I thought I knew. Something about how you taught me that love isn't about perfection, it's about choosing each other every day despite the imperfections. Something about how I want to spend the rest of my life being challenged and charmed and occasionally infuriated by you. He produced a small velvet box. But instead, I'm just going to ask, Maya Richardson, will you marry me? She looked at the men who had once been her target, then her secret, then her salvation. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, the pain, the lies, the impossible odds they had overcome. Yes, she said. 1,000 times yes. As he slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her senseless, baby Emily gurgling happily between them, Maya finally understood what her sister had been trying to tell her in those final days. Not about the evidence or the cover-up or the Sterling family secrets. Emily had been trying to tell her that life was too short to spend it in darkness. That justice mattered, but so did love. That sometimes the greatest revenge against those who hurt us is simply choosing to be happy anyway. The Sterling Empire had been built on secrets and lies. But this new family, forged in truth, tested by fire, held together by love, would be built on something stronger. It would be built on hope. Thank you so much for staying until the end of Maya and Alexander's incredible journey. If this story moved you, if it made your heart race or brought a tear to your eye, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances today. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of love, redemption, and the beautiful chaos of finding your person in the most unexpected places. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to bring you the next emotional adventure. Until then, remember, even when life disrupts your perfect plans, sometimes the disruption is exactly what you needed all along. The end.